Republicans in Texas are living in hope, with Democrats making very big gains throughout the country and in Texas in polling. And most recently, Democrat Mary Peltola won the special election for Alaska's only U.S. House seat on Wednesday, besting a field that included Republican Sarah Palin, who is seeking a political comeback in the state where she was once governor. Taking basic rights away from women, via the Supreme Court, doing nothing about our kids dying in school shootings, becoming anti-LGBTQ+, including banning log cabin Republicans from their convention, and with all the Trump crimes and January 6th, the common knowledge is that in a midterm election, the party out of power always gains seats, but it is looking more and more obvious that that is not going to be the case this year. So how are the Republicans going to manage a win in November? We talked to Republican strategist Vlad Davididuk.
Well, what we understand is that certainly there was Alaska proved to be somewhat challenging, given that there were two Republicans in the race and there was some splitting of that vote. And certainly Governor Palin fell short of that threshold. And that's directly attributable partially to not only the other Republican candidate in the race, but also it's difficult to separate herself not only from some of her previous work and some of her previous campaigns, but to really establish herself as somebody who Alaskans can turn to, given that they need leadership in the United States Congress. And certainly Governor Palin's track record and departure from politics for a long period of time put her in a position where it was difficult to reestablish a lot of those connections with Alaskan voters. And but certainly it appears that she's not done with her political involvement, and that she's certainly eager and interested to continue finding ways to serve the state of Alaska and the people that she represents.
Do you think it's going to be? Are we getting into a time period where there might be a split within the Republican Party, with you have Trump supporters here and non-Trump supporters on the other side? Tough question.
What? Say that question again.
I'm just asking. Do you think it's going to be it's getting to a point where it's going to be a split within the Republican Party, within those who supported Trump and those who didn't?
I think it's likely that we're going to arrive at a time where Republicans start to look at the party after Trump. Certainly, every single Republican president that we've had has enjoyed popularity and support while they've been in office. But after they leave office, that support then shifts to the next leader of the party, the next goal of the agenda, and the next campaign. There are certainly people in the Republican Party who still look back to, President Ford, President Reagan, both Presidents Bush, but over time, certainly, there is a move away from those previous leaders onto new leadership and new goals and new agendas and new campaigns. And I think we will arrive at that point with former President Trump. I think the party will arrive at a point where we no longer look backward, but look forward to the next goal. And certainly that is taking shape at this time and forming as we continue to move forward. There are goals that must be achieved. There are campaigns that need to be won. And looking back does not always serve any political party well. Certainly holding on to some of the positive benefits and some of the advancements help to shape the party's energy and the party's direction. But going forward, it certainly has to be driven. Those decisions have to be driven by events on the ground and being able to respond to the citizens that our party wishes to serve and lead. And that means responding to the challenges of the moment. I think we're going to arrive at a point.
You're listening to the People's News on Community Radio KPFT, Houston.
Sooner or later, where the party is ready to move forward from the Trump years and continue to address challenges as they arise. Is that time now, or will it be in 2 years or 4 years? It's hard to say. We don't yet know what the shape of the upcoming presidential campaign, much less even the shape of the 2022 midterms. So that still yet remains to be seen.
Do you see? Let's go to Texas. And what races do you find interesting in Texas?
I think certainly the Attorney General's race is very interesting. I think the governor's race is interesting. I believe that both Abbott and Attorney General Paxton will both win their races, but I think there are definitely some reasons to be concerned with regard with how close those races have become over time. Granted, you see a lot of people making up their minds as they get closer to Labor Day. People who maybe had not been paying attention through the summer, and we see in poll after poll, we see a high number of undecideds. And those numbers have been shrinking as we get closer and closer to Labor Day and traditional start of campaign season. I think you're going to see a lot of those voters start to make up their minds. And you see, certainly on both sides, you see people who are not yet fully committed. But I think as we get closer to Election Day, I think you're going to see both sides really start to bring their voters home. Certainly the Republicans will come home and support their nominees, and I believe both Paxton and Abbott will both prevail. But it's interesting to me to see how close those races are at this point.
One thing I've noticed, with the gentrification of Houston, it's a possibility of it becoming a red city. Am I wrong on that?
I think certainly Republicans are making inroads, and there are certainly opportunities to really push back on some of the elected officials and positions that have been less than stellar in their service to the community. And Republicans have made a very compelling argument and offer effective and compelling solutions. Is Houston ready to turn into a red city? I think that's going to be a huge challenge and a huge undertaking. I think it's far more likely that Harris County goes back to red after being blue for a couple of years. I think more likely than not, if I had to bet today, I think Lena Hidalgo is primed for a loss, and I think Alex Mueller is built up a really great campaign and a great grassroots network, and she's garnered incredible support across the board, and I think she's going to present a huge challenge to County Judge Lena Hidalgo, and I think it's very likely that come election night we're going to have a brand new Harris County judge, and I think also with the elimination of straight ticket voting, I think you're going to see a strong return of Republican judges to benches across the county. And so I think this blue wave that built over the past couple of cycles has run its course, and I think Harris County is going to start shifting back away from being solid blue and return possibly to purple, maybe even a little bit red. Down the road, that could signal a change at the city level as well, and that remains to be seen.
You're listening to the People's News on Community Radio KPFT, Houston.
One thing I say that's an interesting race as far as the Harris County judge race, because there's so much money that's going to be pumped into that race.
Yeah, I think you have to really understand how much is at stake with Harris County Commissioner's Court. Right now, Democrats hold our, with both hands onto a very slim 3-2 majority, with County Judge Hidalgo forming that third vote. And so, I think we all understand that her relative inexperience, her complete new approach to being the county executive has led to her two senior colleagues, Rodney Ellison and Adrian Garcia, being the ones who really run the agenda and run the show there. We saw a press conference a couple days ago where she was basically kind of falling apart when she was confronted about her administration's defunding of police here in Harris County. And I think voters are not impressed with her performance. I think she has been lackluster, and she has had multiple failures and ethical lapses. I think voters are concerned with how her office appeared to try to direct funding towards an approved contractor, that violated a lot of procedures and oversight, and has led to the indictment of 3 of her staffers. And she has, County Judge Hidalgo herself has made public the possibility that she herself could be indicted at some point. And I think that her leadership has, which I use that term loosely, has left a really sour taste in a lot of people's mouths here in Harris County, even in Democrats. I think they appreciated her and look forward to her taking that role, but I think she has really fallen flat in terms of how she's done that. And I think Harris County voters are primed and ready to have a new form of leadership in that office. And I think Alex Miller has really tapped into something that Harris County residents are really appealing to.
That was Republican strategist Vlad Davididuk. You're listening to the People's News on Community Radio KPFT, Houston.